أهلا وسهلا معكم نور الخضراء، وإحنا دحين في مهرجان الأفلام السعودية في الدورة العاشرة. الثيم حقنا هو الخيال العلمي والفانتازيا. معايا ضيفنا اليوم اسمه وينك وينكلر، وهو متخصص في الذكاء الاصطناعي وكيف نقدر نستخدمها في الأفلام. Hello, Wink.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure to be here.
We are lucky, and the other day you told me this is the first time you leave America.
Yeah.
And you came to Saudi.
Of course. Where else should I go?
That's crazy. I've never heard of that, but we are honored.
I'm honored to be here.
We're very honored to have you. And Wink, I know that you have a background in all kinds of fields that fall under creativity and also tech.
Yeah.
Do you mind walking us through it?
Sure. So I started my career early on, coming out of school for 3D animation. When that was kind of really all that was around, game development wasn't quite an option going to university. And this is about 20 years ago. And I started my career working at Electronic Arts as a video game tester.
Wow,
and then
started out.
Yeah.
At Electronic Arts, amazing.
And then I moved my way into, doing development and started my own business selling 3D assets. And my career kind of continued on. I worked in television. I had some opportunities working for theme park rides, like Disney and Universal. And I've done things over for television networks like CBS, feature film as well, like Jurassic Park, and I worked on Star Trek Into the Darkness, being able to be like a creative director and a producer and a director on projects, budding businesses and helping do some architecture and start projects and kind of moving from one thing to the next. But there were really always just opportunities because I attended events and kept networking and kept my options open. Really specializing in emerging technology is really what made opportunities available for me.
Wow, that's you're like Leonardo da Vinci. You're a Renaissance man.
Thank you.
But I appreciate that because I do think that when you work in different disciplines within the creative umbrella, or you actually learn from all of them and you apply it in the other field.
Yeah. So they really cross-pollinate often. Being a creative just allows you to think of new and emerging ways to solve problems. You're just a problem solver, and you're creating something from nothing, or you're innovating on new ideas using concepts that already exist. So with implementing technology as best we can and new and emerging ways, then it allows us to be impactful and change the world. And so I like to do as much of that as I can.
Wow, that is incredible. And you're also a professor.
I am. I'm a tenure track professor at Stanford University in Birmingham, Alabama, and I've been there for 5 years. And prior to that, I taught at another college based out of Orlando, Florida for about 2 years.
Wow. Very, very impressive.
Thank you.
So this leads me to our question about AI.
Sure.
And you have a good understanding in AI. AI is a very sensitive subject for a lot of people, especially in the creative industry. I remember when ChatGPT first came out, people, graphic designers and whatnot, were very much angry.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And they just did not like the fact that there's something that is not human that is taking their jobs, or that is very competitive as well.
Absolutely.
So how do you feel about that?
Sure, and I have a couple things that really kind of help explain a little bit about that. So artificial intelligence has existed for a long time now. I've been using it actively in my industry. I think my earliest stages I was thinking of using it was about 2008, but it's kind of existed in many ways. Most of you even use spell correct, which is kind of a form of artificial intelligence, right? And so when you think about like AI, mostly what everyone's referring to is the fact that AI became widely publicly available very quickly in a strong way, and it does a lot for you for free. And I want everyone to remember is that if something is being given to you for free, it's usually too good to be true. They're gathering data and information, which is very valuable to them, And I can't speak exactly to their model and to how they generate revenue, but I do think that there are many forms of AI and different programs and options and things that are available that are, if they're free, they're usually making money somewhere else, or they're a paid model. And all this is it's just creating a service for you. I make analogies pretty often, and one of the things that I try to point out with AI about how it's taking our jobs, it's not really taking your job anymore. What it's doing is enhancing the human experience and giving you new tools and opportunities. If you think back thousands of years ago, we used to dig holes with our hands, and then a shovel came along, and I'm sure all those hole diggers were thinking, whoa, you can perform your job so much faster now. That's not fair, you're gonna take our jobs away. There are other jobs to be had, and it creates new and opportunities to do bigger, better, badder, awesome things at a faster rate, and it advances society. And other things you can think about would be like when we used to use fire on like a log fire to illuminate a room, and then you had whale oil and candles, and then a light bulb, right? Amazing. And now we're on LEDs, and we're constantly emerging technology. And with every advancement, some jobs do change and do things go away, but it allows us opportunity as human to have more opportunity to do bigger things.
New jobs as well.
Yeah, new jobs. It creates new opportunity. And I talk about that in the talk. And really, what people should be thinking about with how, okay, in my industry, I'm a graphic designer, or I'm a 3D modeler, or I'm a copywriter, or I'm doing this or that in the industry, and it seems like that has kind of been replaced by an AI. I'd almost say that at this point in time, most of the jobs haven't even gone away. ChatGPT was released to the public, I believe it was last January, about 16 months ago now, and really, that's not that long. What has happened now is you can almost see the trends of what's happening when you use these large language models. When I say, write me a paper on AI, it will write a paper on AI, but it will use a very standard formula. It almost feels dry. It has something we talk about in the film industry, the uncanny valley, when we had these CGI models and they looked like they didn't have souls. And it was just like this separation. And we're progressively moving past that, but at the same time, that's still part of what's happening with what it creates, because it doesn't create anything. What it's actually doing is what we told it to do. The programmers wrote a code that said, do this when this happens, gather this data, and use this algorithm in order to solve that problem or try to create something, but it's not really creating. And so then therefore, as we put data into it, it feeds off of what we create by giving it data. And then it takes that data and amplifies it based on the computer program that was written. So really, the way I like to explain to people is it's a multiplier. If you put 0 in, say, give me paper on AI, it'll give you a pretty bad paper. But if you make a rough draft, and then you feed it to it and it corrects your grammar and makes a few suggestions, you ask for a few ideas and feed it back, and you pass back and forth, then now you've really got something you're multiplying. So if your knowledge is maybe a level 10 or a level 50, now you're multiplying it by 100 or 110 based on your ability to use these AI tools. Just like when I was digging a hole with my hands versus a shovel and now an excavator. It takes a lot of talent and skill to use these major tools, and this is a major tool, and it's happening and emerging, and we're in a really exciting time for society in order to use this.
But do you think this tool is making us lazy?
It could. It absolutely could. If you choose to do less work with this opportunity, you're more than welcome to. And those people truly and honestly are the most likely to have their jobs replaced because they're not gonna continue to advance forward.
They're not keeping up with the program.
You gotta stay with the times, right? And continue to learn the new tools that are around. Again, think about the people that still wanna dig holes with their hands. It's not as much of an option anymore, and so we do new things with new tech and continue to advance.
Do you think there should be a limit to that? I mean, how advanced can like AI really get? Because if it's just going infinitely, from my understanding of machine learning and whatnot, it's just going to just zoot, you know, and
It could.
is there anybody gatekeeping this, or?
It's kind of hard to stop it, to stop what someone can create. The government stepping in, or governments stepping in, organizations creating barriers and guardrails to help prevent society from spiraling into a way. You know, it almost sounds silly, right? Did you ever watch The Matrix, I assume?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, well, it basically, you know, all starts with AI. And
Yes.
that's how they got to where they were in that story. And, you know, often we talk about how sci-fi really is like the precursor to most pieces of technology.
Yeah.
How we have cell phones and other things. There are many people that believe that that kind of inspired people to create something. And then therefore, you know, we have opportunities like AI where maybe it could go that bad. And my general opinion and thought in all this is that good, ethical, moral people should be more involved than ever before in this
100%.
emerging tech. And I think that if instead of thinking that this tool is evil or bad in any kind of way, instead of resisting the use of it, you should embrace it and see how much you can be a part of it and help change society for good, versus allowing the bad people to do bad things with it.
No, 100%. 100%. I'm a total advocate of what you just said. More ethical people need to, just because it's, I know that we do live in a capitalist world, and that's fine. It's just that when it comes to these kind of things, it can't just be about money.
I completely agree. And I think the challenge is really you run into the scenario where now it's out there.
Yeah.
It exists. And what do we do with it? Like water. We can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
What do we do with it?
Yeah.
Hurricanes happen. How do we handle that? And I know I'm talking about something that comes from nature, but at the same time, like we have to deal with the sun and what its effects are and the lack of ozone, and all these things kind of are problems as humanity in order to resolve and create guardrails and implementation and safeguards. And I think that, like I said, the more people get involved and the more people learn about it and become a part of it, it's history. We will tell our grandkids about this time. I remember when it came about, and these will be tales we can tell, and hopefully we can tell them about a good ending and a good opportunity and what it came about and the opportunities that it presented for our future generations. We're planting the seeds that create the shade for generations ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be ingrained in the generation ahead. Like right now, I grew up without a cell phone, and right now my nieces and nephews are just like, you know, just iPads, and it's available. You know, it's part of life. They were born knowing this.
and I remember the times before the internet. I remember having a dial-up modem. I remember making video games on my TI-83 calculator. Like these things we were part of a very unique generation of growing up, and that's impactful and powerful. And the personal computer came about during my age, and these all things were pieces of technology. And you can even find snippets of news articles and video clips of people saying, you know, like, what is this email? Why would I ever do that? What is that @ symbol? It looks like an A, right? They don't even know what it is. And you watch it now and it almost feels silly.
Yeah, now it's common lingo.
Yeah, common lingo. I mean, like my 6-year-old daughter knows this about these things. And this all really does create, you know, perspective. That right now, as people are upset or bothered, and it's because it puts them at a disadvantage, or they don't understand, and maybe this is a time we can, you know,
and change is not easy for anyone,
is not easy.
like ever.
And so how can we embrace them and help them through into this new age?
Yeah, I think that's a very a mature way of looking at it because it's inevitable. So might as well use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
And this actually leads me to my next question about the implications or like how do we use AI in film to help us to work with it, to make our lives easier, to make our budgets go down. So like whether it's in the pre-production phase, whether it's in the storyboard writing or the production like cinematography or I don't know, or like in the editing. So what are the tools that are or what are the ways that AI is like in these phases?
Sure. I almost have two answers to that, and one's kind of not really an answer.
Okay.
The first one would really be that this, in kind of conjunctions with that question about jobs, the new jobs it presents, now we have opportunities for filmmakers to say, man, this task is mundane and no one wants to do it. It's hard to find people to do it. For instance, I'm just going to say rotoscoping, right? Rotoscoping object, well, why don't we work on an AI to replace that? And so that we can focus really on the art and the creativity of what we as filmmakers or creatives want to do. And we can remove some of those more passive tasks. And so it creates an opportunity for filmmakers to work with software engineers in order to create new solutions that are paid models or whatever, and be able to offer those out to the world to better it for free or in order to generate revenue. When it comes to answering your question more directly, things that I think that are really being enhanced or implemented, filters. I think filters is probably the number one reason and why, and we kind of already have that. It's not really AI. We've been operating with color correction and treatments on film for a long time now, but now you can feed in a video and say, I like the treatment of this. Or can you take this 1920 camera that I'm not sure what it is and match the film grain and the color correction, the color quality.
Really? So you feed it into the AI and it puts that filter on the other video that
and it retreats it back.
Wow. What's the name of this tool?
So this is still in like beta. I have a couple friends who've purvied me to some of this opportunity, right?
Oh, nice.
But stuff like this is coming. Opportunities like this are happening, and new tools are coming. And so I would say like things that are changing and things that are coming for the film industry, that I think is probably one of the most impactful tools I think that will be around. And also you have, ChatGPT really helps you build, you can build personal assistant systems through it. And then also using Google AI's tools, they're constantly adding treatments and opportunities to that. I do think that things were changing at a very rapid pace, and they still are. Like I said, we're talking months at this point. Even an infant, we count this many months at their age. We don't talk about their number of years. We talk about their number of months of age. Yeah. And that's how old public AI, in the way we're speaking about it, is.
That's crazy.
I do think, you have Sora. I've seen some stuff coming out about that, where it'll be able to generate video based on text prompt. And that will be pretty game-changing. But at the same time, it does have its limitations and what it can and can't do. So one of the things that I really think is going to change in time, I think crowd simulations are going to be resolved. Background and set extensions might become easier to achieve in films and allow indie developers to be more impactful and create content. So really, what I think is going to happen is that we're going to raise the bar. And maybe I don't want to spoil a future question, but my perspective on this is that we're creating a new gap. The gap of those that don't know how to make films and those that do. And that gap is going to get bigger as time goes on because they know how to use these tools. The difference of someone who knows how to set a LUT, right? Yeah. Or all these technology terms and about creating film. And that is what's going to be the gap where it's going to get bigger and the knowledge of technology. And so I would say, obviously, we should be working on our education systems and implementing AI as quickly as possible and teaching and embracing technology in general, all forms of emerging media.
That's, I mean, I agree. It looks like it's going this way, and it's incredible, the tools that you just told me. Like, that's going to lower budgets heavily as well, and it's going to enable access for more independent filmmakers, or even just people who just want to make cool videos.
Yeah.
You know, like,
my home video should get amazing in the next couple of years.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's so you advise this next generation of filmmakers to actually get educated about on AI and
absolutely. And I would say one of the things is that it also doesn't get rid of the old ways, the art. Look at practical effects.
Yeah.
Well, most people don't do their own, explosions and destroy hospitals in a film, but sometimes we get to, and that does make for pretty amazing stuff. I do think that as we start to encroach upon new ideas, but think of it this way, James Cameron, when he originally wanted to make Avatar, couldn't, because the technology wasn't there.
Yeah.
He had these ideas, he had these stories, and they were ready, but the rest of the world wasn't.
Right.
So what he did was he made Titanic. And Titanic was how he started Digital Domain, right? And built all this production and put lots of research. And he went diving in the sea in order to study underwater creatures. And that was almost like I can imagine it must have been a precursor to his thoughts of the second Avatar,
the new
right?
Avatar, yeah.
And so following along with these sorts of things and moving with technology as it becomes available, adopting it early, learning it when it's only this big, as it gets this big, you're much more able to understand what's going on, and as things improve.
And you have an advantage.
You have an advantage.
Yeah.
Take the edge. While you have a chance to have an edge, use it. Look at all the children that know how to use an iPad better than most of their parents.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my niece uses the iPad. She's like, oh yeah, no, just this. And you're just like, okay. And they're just, I guess, faster. It's like the kids that play Call of Duty. You know, they're just like 7-year-old beats you. You know, like it's crazy.
I believe the Fortnite world champion a few years ago was 16.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, because they're still, I guess, building their hand-eye coordination, or they're in the stage where they.
Yeah, minds when they're the youngest are the most moldable.
Yeah,
they create the most connections and they learn the fastest.
Yeah, 100%. Well, this leads us to our last question.
Okay.
So it's a question that I asked all of our guests.
Sure.
Basically, how do you think that sci-fi films and fantasy films have an impact on society? Like,
I think they have a massive impact on society. I think they open up the mind and the eye of society in order to see what the future could hold, good or bad, the opportunities and things that can happen, and those ideas and things of technology and society and examples almost become a precursor to the way our world could go. They're almost like timelines that could happen, and our filmmakers and creators are giving an insight to the possibilities, and society can stop and think, what if we did that? How do we avoid this? And those who have impact and power and influence can help embrace something they see in the future that they want, or help prevent something they see in the future they want.
100%.
Again, like I mentioned, The Matrix, Total Recall, right? Star Trek, Star Wars. Nobody wants an empire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, even with films like 2001: Space Odyssey, and it affected our technology that we use today.
Yeah,
it allows us to dream.
It creates perspective, and it allows us to dream, and it allows us to have a greater understanding of what could be.
Yeah.
And helps inspire a younger age to think more creatively and new and emerging ideas, support creatives, and give them something. And sci-fi, I think, really encapsulates that whole concept we just kind of rapped about.
That's lovely. So it expands your mind. It
Yes.
expands your mind.
Very expansive.
Yes.
As
Great.
much as space.
As much as space. Amazing. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This
I
has been
appreciate it.
super helpful and we learned so much from you. So thank you for being here and
Happy to share. I look forward to future trips to Saudi.
yes, yes. I can't believe this is your first trip, but we are so honored. Like
Thank you.
honestly. So thank you so much for coming to
Thank
Saudi.
you. Yeah, we'll go.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah.